So without further ado, welcome to today's session, Unlock the Power of Intuitive Eating, a journey to food freedom and body confidence. And we hear a lot about intuitive eating here and there regarding the do's and the don'ts, but I really want to clarify the foundational work so you can leave today with some starting points. As I had mentioned before, if there's any questions, do not hesitate to put them in the chat. I will go through them as a presentation progresses. However, at the end, I'm going to give a little 5-10 minutes of a Q&A. Like that, you can ask your question live and we can discuss it as well at the same time. So I'm really looking forward to having you all here. So whether you're tired of dieting, whether you want to develop a healthy relationship with food, or you're looking to support your overall well-being, you are actually in the right place. This is really the philosophy that I work with my clients and that we all do here at the clinic. What we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about the concepts of the core principles of intuitive eating and how actually can revolutionize your relationship with food. We're also going to look at the challenges because there's actually some common obstacles and misconceptions around intuitive eating. And as well, I do want to give you some practical tips and actionable steps to begin your intuitive eating journey today. So you're going to be leaving with a bit of homework and looking forward to see how you come through that. So before I continue, my name is Dina Marabi. I'm actually a naturopath, a neurolinguistic programming practitioner, yoga and mindfulness teacher. But as well, I was a former dietitian for 21 years. But the reason why I changed my title to naturopath, because I work with nutrition, with fitness, with mindset, and as well with spirituality with my clients. And I really help my clients break free from overeating and any unhealthy eating habits that they find or lifestyle habits so they can feel confident and energized in their body, show up empowered in their business, and they'll experience more joy in their life. What I always tell my clients, we have this one life, we have this one body. How can we work together to make sure we enjoy our life as best as we can? Intuitive eating is one of those first things that we're going to be talking about. So a lot of clients come to me curious about intuitive eating, but they're not sure actually how to integrate it into their life. Because sometimes they feel at a loss. Some actually were coached around it with an intuitive eating expert, but they still come to me feeling something was not working in their favor. And that's what we're going to demystify today, the do's and the don'ts and the things that can actually block your success. And here's the truth about intuitive eating that I want to share with you today in full transparency so that you can become a healthy intuitive eater, but what are the starting steps for you? So first, let's talk, what is intuitive eating? It's actually an approach to food and nutrition that emphasizes listening to your body, your natural hunger, your natural fullness, and as well, not having any strict diet rules or restrictions. And it was actually developed by dietitians, which is an amazing thing, to help people with the relationship with their body and with their food. It is a non-diet approach. It is a balanced approach in terms of nutrition and wellness. And it's really about fostering a positive relationship with your food and with your body image. Because we've seen through the years with the dieting industry and let's say the obesity pandemic, something is happening. We're disconnecting our body and our mind. Intuitive eating is how can we get them both together by actually as well kind of how can we kind of put our blinders onto the dieting world that very often is causing more problems than good out there. So let's look at the 10 guiding principles to kind of give you a bit of a terrain of what it is about. Then we're going to look at the 10 obstacles and then how we're going to bring that work for you. So the first thing that we talk about intuitive eating is rejecting the diet mentality. It's really letting go of this whole, I need to eat a certain way, counting calories into pursuit of weight loss. So intuitive eating, the primary goal is not weight loss, it's healthy living. And what we've seen was when we keep focusing on weight loss, there's this pressure of disconnecting from your body and doing everything possible. But intuitive eating is how can we actually take a step back, focus on healthy living, because healthy living helps us reach a balanced and healthy weight. Second thing is honoring your hunger, which is eat when you're hungry and recognize hunger as a normal signal. Because how many diets might have said hunger is a good sign? When you're famished, don't eat. This is when you're losing weight. Or you're so famished from a diet that you have to go through drinking coffee or diet sodas to cut that appetite. So this is where intuitive eating is actually amazing. And we're all born with that signal of I'm hungry, I eat. Because when you're hungry, your body's saying I need calories. And when you feed it, it optimizes its health. So we want to see hunger as a healthy thing. The third thing is making peace with food. Allowing yourself to eat all the food without feeling anxious and guilty. And I actually wrote it, I did it on my Instagram post yesterday of I had a client that she's struggling so much when her husband brings chips at home. She's like, I'm trying to eat healthy. Why are you bringing in chips home? But it's more, how can we actually have those chips and make peace with it and not have anger towards it? And if you have kids, this is the thing. We don't want to have a home. We're going to have the chips and the cookies and so on. So how can we actually make food just be food? Not good, not bad, just it's just chips. It's just potatoes. The other thing also is challenging the food police, which is the whole good or bad thing. You want to have more good food, less bad food. But when you kind of have this morality and you start demonizing certain foods, it causes them to be more triggering and more tempting when you're having a bad day or you're stressed or you're tired. And as well, a big thing is respecting your fullness. Fullness for many people is very different. But what is that healthy fullness? And we'll talk about it later on. Because when you're feeling good and full, there isn't that guilt that I ate too much. Because when we eat too much, we might have that guilt, that shame, that uncomfort, or people that have binge eating, there might be like, well, might as well, I already overate. Let me just eat as much as I can. And I'll start my diet again tomorrow. So intuitive eating is how can I know when I'm hungry, when I'm full, and I just stop at that, exactly like a baby, exactly like kids. They know their hunger and their fullness signals. Number 6 is discovering your satisfaction factor. How can you find pleasure in eating? How can you sit down and enjoy it? How can you feel safe with food? How can you focus on, yes, physical well-being in what you're eating, but as well, emotional well-being of eating the food? And number 7 is actually honoring your feelings. Very often, food has a negative relationship with an emotion because it kind of, we create a coping mechanism, a self-soothing, a self-medicating kind of thing with food. So in the process of intuitive eating, we don't want to nullify our emotions by stuffing the food down. We want to kind of say, hey, how can I flow through my feeling and not stuff myself because of that feeling? So depending on how we grew up, maybe our feelings were not valued, we weren't listened to. So we found these coping mechanisms with food, but we need to find ways to honor those feelings because we are human beings, human that feel a lot. And that's one thing that's nice about intuitive eating. Number 8 is respecting your body. You know, appreciate and accept your body's natural shape and size. So you've seen a lot of the body positivity movements coming in. We want to bring a positivity with food of appreciating it for what it does to us, not just a number on the scale or a size in the clothing, seeing body as this active and amazing thing that helps us do things. Without our body, we wouldn't be here in this presentation. Without our body, we wouldn't be able to have kids. Without our body, we wouldn't be able to like go walk around and grocery shop or go to an event and go dancing. So we want to see body beyond just that number on the scale and really just as it's an amazing thing to help us live this life. Number 9, we talk about exercising. Of course, physical activity is important, but we don't want to focus on forceful. We want to focus on fun. How can we keep our body moving in a fun and pleasurable way? Because our body loves to move. Doesn't mean hitting the gym. It can be just walking and gardening, dancing. But you want to bring joy in that activity again. And the number 10 is actually a big one, which is honoring your health, which is called gentle nutrition. Gentle nutrition is making choices in your food that feel good in your body, feel good in your mind, feel good, taste good in your taste buds, and then you feel satisfied to keep going with your day. Not I have to eat this or I cannot eat that. It's really making sure like that freedom that we see with kids, they eat and they go. How can we bring that freedom in a certain way? That's what intuitive eating helps us have. Oops, let me just see. There we go. However, this is the big thing. Intuitive eating, as much as it has amazing principle, it does have some big challenges actually, especially with people that are struggling with their weight, people that struggle with overeating, with binge eating, people that are like, I've been dieting on and off, but I don't know how to connect to my body. I don't know what my body is telling me because there's that fear of listening to our body. And that's what we're going to be looking at when we look at intuitive eating. Because many people don't actually talk about these challenges. That's why a lot of clients that come to see me, they're like, something is not fitting. Something does not feel right. Something feels like it's missing. Because intuitive eating is not actually something that's easy to implement overnight. It's not saying one day, that's it. No good food, no bad food. Everything is amazing. Like I'm just going to jump in. I'm going to eat everything. But you're going to see where that could be actually a downfall. One of the biggest challenges is actually it's difficult for chronic dieters. If you have a long history of dieting, it's actually hard to connect to your hunger and to your fullness cues. I'm not saying it's not realistic. There's a process to go through. So going from something of a planned diet to just follow your hunger, follow your fullness, if you don't know what healthy hunger and healthy fullness is, it's very hard to do that transition. Number two is misinterpreting hunger cues. Some individuals don't know what the hunger is because let it be with dieting, let it be with binge eating. Maybe they get a little bit tired. They're like, I'm really hungry. And some clients actually don't even feel their body anymore. For them, hunger, they get like a low energy crash. So hunger is not felt the same way for every single person. That's why we need to demystify what is healthy hunger for you. And did you know there isn't just one type of hunger? There's the I feel like eating, there's no, I think I'm hungry, or oh, it's noon, it's lunchtime, it's hunger. Or it could be yes, in your stomach it's growling, or it could be stomach acidity, or it could be your chest has anxiety and you're like, oh, this feels like hunger. So there's so many different things that people feel is hunger, but is it that physical, I need calorie hunger, or is it an emotional, situational hunger? Anxiety hunger. Those are all different. So to kind of maneuver that, we need to understand what the different hungers are, but we need to tune in to understand where they are. Because you might be telling me, yes, Dina, I'm hungry. But I tell my clients, where do you feel it? And they're like, huh, big question. So today, for the rest of your day, try to see when you're like, I'm hungry. Where do you feel it in your body? How does it feel like? Start connecting with that. Number three, the thing with intuitive eating, there isn't a structure. So sometimes structure can be quite problematic because when there's no structure, it's like a free for all. And when there's no structure, people, they're like, I have enough things to do with my work, with my kids, with my business. I don't know what to follow. And they kind of get disconnected and they're not sure what to do. So they'll go back to a diet. So the lack of structure in intuitive eating can be sometimes overwhelming for a lot of people because simplicity is key. And if there's a guide of like, give me like a starting steps, then it makes things easier. So this is one of the big challenges I've seen with a lot of people. Number four, with intuitive eating, health conditions. If you have any issues like with diabetes, food allergies, osteoporosis, heart reflux, stomach reflux, any of that, we can't just follow intuitive eating. You need to make sure you see a health coach or registered dietitian to make sure that you have the appropriate foods to bring in. And remember when I talked about in the beginning, there's no good food, there's no bad food. And I totally agree, there's no good food and there's no bad food. There's just food. But let's say you're intolerant to a food or you're allergic to a food or a food causes you inflammation. I'm not going to say that they're bad for you, but your body does not feel like it's best with it. So we cannot have a free for all when there's a medical issue or a gluten insensitivity or inflammation or reflux. There's still going to be some foods if you have reflux that we can't have tomato sauce. So it kind of goes against there's no good food or bad food because you have a health condition. So we need to kind of tune into that at the same time. And one thing that I've seen very often is the potential of overeating. If there's no guidelines and people are not connected to their fullness, you might end up eating to the point where you're like, now I'm full, but you're like too full. Like you need to unbutton your pants. But if you, through your past, if you went through overeating and binge eating, and for you that was fullness, you feel like you're doing something correctly from your knowledge. So having a free for all can cause overeating, which physically might not feel good and emotionally either if you start gaining weight in the process. If your goal, especially we don't say the goal we want it to be weight loss, but if you're looking to be at a balanced weight and you see yourself gaining weight with intuitive eating, you're like, something is off, it doesn't feel right. And a big thing as well is number six is society, the pressures of body image. You know, taking the time to listen to your body, to know what it needs, it takes time. So it's not like in a week, in 2 weeks, or have an event in 4 weeks. I need to, know what I am as an intuitive eating and, pin that down. It takes time. And it's really a journey. That's how I mention it. So it's once you get into the intuitive eating and you start connecting to it, you have it for life. So it's not like you need to do it a few weeks and then you forget about it. If you keep doing it and you start embracing it and really getting it like ingrained in your subconscious, it becomes something part of who you are, as long as you don't get tempted to get back into the dieting world, because then we'll get you back into old habits. And intuitive eating is a very, very challenging for people that have emotional eating or binge eating. When you use food to cope with your emotions and you don't learn how to flow or how to deal with those emotions, you're actually going to be going up and down with the food. you're going to be probably going through more emotional eating patterns. And the thing is, it's okay to eat when you're sad. We're not saying you're never going to eat for emotions. But if there isn't that work to actually understand the emotion behind the overeating, it's going to be hard to connect your hunger and your fullness at the same time. So there's some like therapeutic work we need to do there. Number 8 is a big thing. There's no nutritional balance when we talk about intuitive eating. It doesn't talk about protein or carbs or vitamins. So you can eat for your hunger and your fullness, but then it's like a free-for-all. So for me, it's how can we bring guidance with that flexibility? How can we bring a baseline for that free-flowing intuitive eating? Because we still want to make sure you have your protein, your carbs, your vitamins, your fats, and all that. But that's something that's lacking a little bit in the intuitive eating 10 principles. And this is a big thing. Number 9, there's no immediate results. Intuitive eating is a way of life. It's a way of being. It's something about long-term change. It's something that we were born with. We're trying to reconnect with it. It's something as parents we want to kind of bring into our life so that we can actually impact our kids at the same time. So intuitive eating is a life journey, and it's not an overnight thing that once you do a check mark and you keep going. And number 10, there's a lot of misuse of intuitive eating in the diet culture. I've seen so many programs that talk about intuitive eating. Next thing you know, it's actually intermittent fasting. And others like intuitive eating, but they're pushing more the keto. So intuitive eating should never, ever have a big fasting time. And intuitive eating should never have a food group that's completely taken out. So you really have to be careful of who it is and what they're talking about it, because it is a buzzword. Intuitive eating, mindful eating makes it so much more tempting because they're going to be taking few little things from those 10 principles, but they're not implementing all the principles. Because when you're working with somebody and you want to be a healthy eater, it has to be something according to you, your lifestyle, not a cookie cutter program that a lot of those programs are actually sharing. And here's the thing. Intuitive eating is crucial to having a healthy relationship with your body and your food. However, the way I mentioned to my clients, it's more the cherry on the top and not the first foundational work we want to bring in. And I'm going to share with you some of the foundational works today. Because it is an add-on. We don't start with intuitive eating. We understand the principles, but we talk about the guidelines, the hunger, the fullness. There's some work to do there before we can honor our hunger, before we can honor our fullness. And this kind of shows you a little bit how I work with my clients, but it'll show you where a little bit intuitive eating can actually fit. Number 1 is resetting. You really want to kind of reset your eating, reset your metabolism, so you actually understand what is your healthy hunger, what's your healthy fullness. Remember how we talked about where your hunger is in your body? We need to understand what it is. What is healthy fullness? Is fullness like, I'm done? Is fullness, I can still eat a little bit more? What is it for each person? Because it's very, very different. When you look at the second part, which is the rewire, we want to change our mindset. It's easy to say there's no good food or bad food, but then you're going to be like, well, Dina, chips is bad. But then why is it bad? It's potatoes with some salt and some fat. But when we're able to put all foods on the same level, we're able to choose according to what we want and not according to what we think we should be eating. So there's a mindset rewiring we want to do to be able to see foods all on the same platform. But as well, that also has to do with respecting ourselves, taking the time, and looking over the emotional eating patterns that we have. That's a mindset thing. And the third thing is looking at that confidence, is believing that the process that you are going through, it is for the greater good for you. Is believing that even though you had years struggling with dieting, you can become that healthy, normal eater. So there's a process of, I can say, motivation, but shifting from, I need to do this, to, I want to do this. I have to do this, to, oh, I like to do this. So creating a shift of being confident with your actions will help you stick to your habits longer, whatever habits are personalized to you, and making sure that no matter what people are saying around you or situations are coming in, you're always able to be a step ahead and you're taking control of the situation in a certain way. And this is why this is the exactly same framework that I work with intuitive eating. And I'll show you a bit of the exercises today that are aligned to that actually. So reset. This is, I can say, the part being a dietitian for 21 years, this is really foundational. Because if you want to connect your healthy hunger and your healthy fullness, You need to get your body out of starvation mode and years of dieting, because it is hard to know if you're hungry physically when your body has been going through so many ups and downs. If you're always going through stressful periods, if you always have high cortisol level, it's very hard to know what your hunger is. So I talk about reset is really getting your system back on track, getting it out of the starvation, famine, stress mode, getting into the calmness, happy, peaceful mode. Because when your body's calm and peaceful, it's closer to connect to what your hunger and your fullness signals are. And how is this done? One of the big things that I do with a lot of my clients is you want to get your internal system calm by balancing your blood sugar levels. And here's an example, if you can see in the video. So when we're born, this is our head, this is our body. We're connected. The body and the mind are working together to make sure that you are staying in healthy mode. But as we have stressors, exhaustion, trauma, traumatic events, or we're doing dieting, or we're skipping meals, or we're always go, go, go on the run, and we have this high cortisol, we kind of get disconnected. Our brain starts leading the day, but our body's like being ignored. So this happened to me, and I'm sure this happened probably to you. You might be like going through like a rush time. You're like, oh, I'm going to have my snack later. I'm going to have my lunch later. Or like, I'm running late this morning. I'll just have a coffee and I'll keep going. Or, like, oh, like I didn't eat all day. I'm going to catch up with my calories at night. So you have this kind of irregular eating pattern that causes irregularity in your system. And imagine if you had a kid, or if you've seen kids, if they don't eat regularly, it's the end of the world. It's like, and it's not like you give them food and then they're A-okay. No. They're cranky and they're exhausted and they're moody for almost up to 24 hours. Did you know you have the same system? But we push through. We push through with maybe sugar, with caffeine, with sodas. We push through, like literally we're disconnecting our body and our mind every single day. So what we want to bring in is how can we help the body and mind reconnect? And that is by putting your body first. How can we take care of your body like we're taking care of a baby? Going back to the roots, going back to how you are. And you might be saying, no, like I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 60, no, everything changed. There's intermittent fasting, like menopause and all that. We need to go back to the basics. We need to go back to your first operating system of calmness. And that's by balancing your blood sugar levels. Because when you do that, your body's going to be working for you. Your metabolism goes up, your energy goes up. You're going to be never hungry, never full. It's like this beautiful, like calm state. And that's when your body's going to be at its best. When your body's calm, it will work with you. When your body's starving, it's going for survival. And it doesn't care who's going to be in the way. It's going for survival. And as well, when you're able to bring that calmness in your system, in your blood sugar level, then we can see the other things happening. Oh, maybe you do have inflammation. Maybe you are missing gut bacteria. Maybe, yes, maybe your hormones are fluctuating and we need to update the way you're eating. But we can't build up without doing the foundation. It's like a home. If your foundation is not good, doesn't matter how much you decorate your house. Something's going to break, something's going to crack. If there's like a big water rain, it's all going to go down. So balancing your blood sugar is that baseline we really need to focus on, and then we level up. Medical issues, diabetes, glucose intolerance, Hashimoto disorder, thyroid disorder, all that builds up. But first, you need to really make sure you have that strong foundation. And with that, as well as we're talking the body, we want to reset it by us. We talk about moving. So moving, not to stress it out, but moving to help it breathe. Our body is made to move. The sitting down culture that we have right now, there's studies showing sitting is the new smoking. And when you're sitting, what happens? Let's say you had lunch and then you're sitting at this presentation. Your digestion is all cut up together. You're not able to actually digest properly. And that's exhausting for the system. So it's seeing how can I bring movement in a healthy way? Because when you move in a healthy way and you eat in a healthy way, your body, the only thing it wants is to be at an optimal health state. So you see, as we're talking about that, it's going to help you get into intuitive eating. You're going to know when you're hungry. You're going to know when you're full. You're going to feel energized. You're allowing all foods to come in. There's no diets. It's just, I'm going to eat now, I'm going to eat later. There's no restriction. That's a baseline of intuitive eating, but it doesn't go that much into detail. And that's what we need, the details to help us bring it in. And once you know you bring this, you'll know exactly what your true hunger and fullness is. Once you're able to understand that, it's like open sesame. It's like a whole new life opens up. Because if you don't know what your hunger and your fullness signals are, they're always there. They haven't disappeared. They haven't quit on you. We just need to kind of take out all that gunk, clean up a lot of stuff, so you're able to really listen to what's happening on the inside. So it's connection. When you're feeding your system, you're connecting with your body. So again, body first, brain second. So when you start eating and nourishing your body into calmness and learn to listen to what it needs, this is when you're going to exactly know when you're hungry, when you're full. You're not going to need a meal plan ever again. You're never going to need an alarm to tell you you need to eat. You'll just know, like a kid knows. Any questions so far? I don't think there's any in the chat. No? Okay. So where to start with this amazing work? Of course, for each person, there's a different eating schedule. But for now, I would tell you to create a food intake schedule that you're eating consistently every single day, every 2 to 4 hours. You can start every 3 hours if you want. If it's like, for sometimes I start every 3 hours with my clients. It makes things easy. The reason why it's every 2 to 4 hours, because sometimes you're more active, sometimes you're hungry, is going to be every 2 hours. And sometimes you're less hungry, it'll be every 4 hours. But if you wait longer than 4 hours, your blood sugar is crashing already. Remember to talk about blood sugar stability. When you're irregular eating pattern, your blood sugar is like going on a roller coaster all day long. However, when you eat regularly every 2 to 4 hours, you're creating this nice Zen wave throughout the day. And 4 hours is the max. After 4 hours, it is guaranteed your blood sugar is going at a really critical low level. And when your blood sugar is going too low, you're going to be too hungry, too tired, too exhausted, headaches, nausea. You won't even have time to prepare something. You're going to grab something very fast. You might order in food. Or you might be like, you know what? You grab the chips, you grab the cookies, you grab something fast, because you're so famished. Because this is going to be funny, we never want to eat when we're hungry. We want to eat, I'm hungry, but I can wait 30 minutes. That's like our ideal hunger. Because I can wait 30 minutes. That means I have time to make myself a sandwich. Maybe it's a snack. I'll make an apple of nuts. Like I can have time. But we never want to wait to eat when we're like, it's now or never. When it's now or never, it's exhausting. So look at your day or your week, if we can, weekdays. And if you can eat always at the same, around the same time every single day like we do with kids, your body's going to start, she's eating regularly. I'm feeling good on this. I can trust her again. Because if you eat regularly for 2 days and you don't for 5 days, it's not going to trust you. It needs this every single day. For now, it doesn't matter what you are eating. Just bring that schedule in. Every 2 to 4 hours, you're like, this is realistic. This I can do weekday and weekends. If there's 1 or 2 that you skip, life happens. But you want to be 80% on the ball with that. The second thing is you want to hydrate with 2 liters of water per day. Very often we think we're hungry, but we're dehydrated. So 2 liters. Water, herbal tea. It can be sometimes like, coffee and tea. Those have a bit of caffeine. Just be careful. But really want to look at that hydration as much as you can. And I saw your question, Sarah. I'll answer it just after this. So hydration is like throughout the day. So for me, sometimes what I do is I fill up like 2 containers like this. I put them on the counter and I was like, this is my water for the day. Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm drinking, but we don't know how much we're drinking. So take your 2 bottles, put them on the counter, beginning of the day, tell your family, these are mine, and see how you're drinking throughout the day. And it causes a big difference as well. And to start your body moving, we're not looking at the minimum 10,000 steps. That's our aim, 10,000 steps a day. That's around an hour and a half per day. It doesn't have to be in one sitting. It can be like 30 minutes at a time. It can be 20 minutes at a time. It can be depending on your work, how you are. It could be as well, which actually I'm going to be purchasing one of those treadmills to put under my desk. So I can put a standing desk. I can just walk a little bit. You can do that watching TV. You're talking to a friend, going for a walk. So very often when we're working from home or we're busy more at home, it depends on each person. I know if you don't have any kids, or if you're living in an apartment, it's around 2,000 steps a day, which is not a lot, just from walking around the house. So if you have on your phone, if there's an app or you have a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, measure how many steps you have. So all you have to do is like, oh, let's say my steps are 5,000. Let me go up to 6,000. Let me go up to 7,000 and spread them during the day. This is what healthy movement we want to bring in. So Sarah asked, what if we have a wonky schedule? I eat late breakfast and then to skip lunch most days. So what I would want you to focus on when we say every 2 to 4 hours, doesn't have to be a meal. It can be a snack. It can be, let me grab one of those granola bars that has protein in it. Let me grab dried fruits and nuts. So like you said, something like it's a very wonky schedule. We don't have time to sit down and so on. Just focus. Can I eat something every 2 to 4 hours? It's like even like grabbing, like think of snacks. Because with the wonky schedule, it's how can I bring something that's easy? And if it's hard for you to start every 2 to 4 hours in the beginning, say, okay, every 4 hours. Saying, okay, how can I bring in something? And focus on something, not on perfection. It's like I need to have my breakfast and this. If it's a granola bar, it's a granola bar. If it's a sandwich you bought, it's a sandwich you bought. If it's like an apple or a banana. So focus on, let me just bring something in my system to start telling my system, I am feeding you regularly. So it's not perfection. It's what is that one thing that you can start out with? So for you, it would be like, would I start out with the breakfast? Would I start out with the lunch? You can also start with one meal or snack per day to kind of get that schedule. But you can't look at your schedule and saying, let's say you have kids, they're having their snack, you have the snack. So you can also put your eating times according to them, because I know a lot of mothers like preparing everything for the kids. And I tell them, I'm like, well, where's your lunchbox? Prepare your little something. So when they're eating, you can eat as well, because now I know school will be returning. But again, don't focus on the profession, focus on a little something just getting the ball rolling, right? Like the 10,000 steps. Start with 2,000. Instead of 2 liters of water a day, start with 2 cups a day. So this is our ideal, but how can we build up to that as much as we can? The next one is actually rewire. And this is something that that's why I do a lot of neurolinguistic programming, which is like mindset coaching with my clients. This has to do with the way that we view food and if there's emotional eating. When you change the way you look at things, the way you look at things change. And I find that's transformative. We have so much power in our brain to change. And very often when something bad happens or there's a stressor in your life, life is 5% what happens to you and 95% how you react to it. And we say that with everybody, that you can have 2 people, the same situation happen, and they react to it completely differently. It's the way that they view it. We're not going to say, oh, they're born that way, they're gifted, their personality. You can change the way you think. Because you were born intuitive eater. You were born confident. You were born all that. You didn't see a kid when he was young saying, I don't think I'm going to walk. It seems very hard. They just go for it. Right? We're like, so now we have all this lack of confidence, not because we didn't have it, it's because so many things happened that affected us. So we have this gung-ho energy when we're kids. We have it. Intuitive eating, we had it. We just need to bring it out again. Because who you are right now is everything that influenced you as the moment you were born. You were like a sponge. You took in all the information from your parents, your environment, society, those do's and the don'ts, but all these are imposed. They're not the ultimate truth. So you took in people's beliefs and personal history. So if you have parents who dieted, probably you dieted. If you had a family that was very image focused, and that was my family, it was like all in the modeling world, you get very self-conscious about your body. If you went through a food trauma experience, past trauma experiences, if you went through when you were young, divorce, physical abuse, other types of abuse, you might have turned to food as a self-soothing, self-medicating process. If you end up having low self-esteem because of bullying and self-criticism. But you see, all those are things that you absorb. It's not who you are. It's things that you learned. So whatever you learn, you can unlearn. That's why rewiring your mindset is so, so crucial to intuitive eating change, because You can read the book, you can drive positive thinking, but if you don't shift the way that you're on the inside in terms of your subconscious, you're always going to fall into old patterns. And I say that to everybody. If who said there's good food or bad foods? Like, when did it start? Who started labeling these foods? There's nothing wrong with a chocolate bar. 20 a day might not be great, but hey, 20 apples a day might not be great either. Extreme in anything is not good. So, how do we want to start rewiring? So, I think the first thing in terms of intuitive eating is understanding that your thoughts and your beliefs are things that you learn, which means you can unlearn them. You also want to start creating new coping mechanisms. Stop turning to food when you're feeling certain emotions. You want to start imprinting positive beliefs inside of you to nullify the self-sabotaging thoughts. And as well, it's a very important thing to learn how to ride the waves of challenge of our lives and stay on track. Let's say, for example, you ate well all week, and Friday night comes and there's an event. And you ate a lot. You're not feeling good. You got off your diet plan, let's say. You weren't really hungry, but you ate and you're overly full. There's two ways to go about it. You're like, you know what? I had a good meal. It was fun. I overate a little bit. It's okay. Tomorrow is a brand new day. Or you might be like, what did I do? Like, why am I such a failure? Why can't I stick to this? And sometimes you can go down that rabbit hole. So understanding that there's challenges that happen in life, but how do we ride those waves? That's the important thing. And how can we maneuver those waves without having to turn to food as a comfort? Again, having chocolate once in a while because you're down, nothing wrong with that. But chocolate being the only thing you do when you're down, that's what we need to look at. So it's really the mindset rewiring that we want to see food as a tool, but not as the only habit to do. Because I don't believe in banning foods. If you would see my drawer, I have chocolate, I have chips. I ran out of ice cream, but I will buy some soon. We don't want to avoid those foods. It's just food, because how restrictive is it that you cannot have that food in your house? And then you're craving it. And you're like, no, I'm not allowed. I'm trying to lose weight. Or if you have kids, you want those foods to be there so they can have a healthy relationship with all food. Freedom, intuitive eating is I have all these foods at home and I don't dream about them. I don't think about them. They're just there. I want a chocolate. I go get it. And I go back to work and life continues. There's no guilt behind it. But this has to do with shifting the way that we see food, but as well shifting the way that we see ourselves. That having a dessert is not a failure. It's dessert. Life without dessert is it worth living? I don't know. That's my philosophy. Different health coaches, different ways of seeing. But to really bring that intuitive eating of feeling good with their body, feeling good with food is very important. Another thing as well that I want to have time to talk about today was really building that confidence. We talk a lot about body positivity, but that can be triggering for a lot of people because they're like, I look at myself in the mirror and I don't like what I see. And you can't tell the person, no, love yourself, you'll love yourself. People they don't like it, you can't force it. So instead of looking at body positivity, I talk about body appreciation. Okay, you might look at the mirror and you're like, I don't like what I see. Okay, I'm not here to negate how you're feeling. I'm not here to be your pep cheerleader. But I'm here to say, okay, tell me one good thing it is to have your body. Does it get you to do stuff? What is it? Are you able to digest? Did it get you to where you want to go? Give me some things that your body you need to work. Like, I need my mouth to be able to talk and do this presentation. I need to have my eyes to see. I need to have my hands to like pick up my baby. Like, there's all these things of how can we see body beyond the superficial thing that we're showing in society? How can we see the functionality of the body and appreciate it? And the more you find that little appreciation, you're going to focus less on that physical like society, and you're going to focus more on the wow, like this is amazing, like the woman's bodies, the man's body, we all have these amazing strength. How can we bring that forward? Body appreciation, not necessarily body positivity of I love what I see, because you cannot tell people they love what they see when they don't. But appreciation, seeing the positive things in it, not just the superficial, let's say first layer part in it. So the key with running your mindset is really the subconscious level. Because by the time we're 35, our actions are actually automatic through our subconscious. Like the way you drive, the way you talk, the way you cook stuff. It's like you don't even remember how you went from point A to point B. You just knew you drove there and it's just imprinted. All your habits are like that. So to change your habits, it makes a little bit deeper work of rewiring those beliefs, creating new coping mechanisms, new ways of seeing yourself, new ways of speaking to yourself. So there is a bit of a re-education, but know this: you were born confident, you were born energized, you were born intuitive eater. All that was there from the beginning. Society might have changed it a little bit, but we just want to bring that back out again. So this is one of the first homework I give all my clients that start working with me. Let's say right now, depending what your struggle is, like with your health, with your body, with your food, I want you to write your health story, which means, how was food, body, and body image talked about before the age of 10? How were your parents with their food and their body? How was your friends? What did you see on TV? How was it in school? Were you ever bullied in terms of your weight and your body? So to give an example, for me, I grew up in the modeling world. My parents, my siblings, and so on, that for me, I was the chubby one. Even though I look at my pictures and I was like, I was normal. My family was thinner. But all the little comments I would get always made me feel I was too big. I did not fit the family because I didn't fit the size. I couldn't take my sister's hand-me-downs because I was a different size. So when you look at that dieting history, you look at the body image history, you end up seeing that you were born this perfect little human being, but you have other people's fears, other people's perceptions, other people's beliefs that came into you. But guess what? They're not yours. They were given to you, and you as a kid, you just kind of absorb it because that was survival. So when you're able to write your health story and saying, okay, where did you come from? What happened? It's not to put blame on them in any shape or form, because whatever they did, it's probably what their parents did and what their parents, it's like generational things. It's more understanding I was not born that way. This is their fears, their beliefs, their perceptions. And kind of then writing kind of your mantra, your mission statement. How do I want to be with my body? If I had a 5-year-old kid, what would I tell them about food? What would I tell them about their body? What would I tell them if they look different? What would I tell them if 1 year they gained weight faster and the pediatrician's like, ooh, they're gaining weight too fast? You know, what would you tell your lovely, beautiful kid about their body and the food and the way they are? With all the love and compassion. Because then when you write that letter to your kid and how you would see it to your kid, you want to bring that and say it to you. Not because we're 30, 40, 50, 60, that we can't change our health story. Doesn't mean that we're doomed with whatever past it is. However we want to be treating a little kid is the way we want to treat ourselves. And you want to bring that lightness and that freedom as much as we can. It's never too late to make a change. And when you're attending a session like this, you're like, okay, you took this step for you because you know there's something better waiting for you there. And it's not about creating this big transformation. It's saying, okay, I'm making a change. So think about that letter you would write for your kids and saying, okay. And then you want to take that letter, and if you can, and if you're comfortable, you look in the mirror and you read that letter to yourself. Just that, you're taking back your control. So you see what the family happened. No blame, it happened. You write a lovely health story of how you want to be with food and so on, what you tell a 5-year-old kid. And the little extra little cherry on the sundae, you say it out loud to yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror. That is a big transformation. And that's where the rewiring process starts. And this, when I go back to the revive and thrive, it's really that process. Intuitive eating has such transformative concepts, but there's so much little work we need to do under it. So in health, no matter what you're going through, you need to uncover your optimal health plan to know how to eat for your body. We need to rewire the way that we see things, unhealthy eating patterns. And that little health story exercise is to help reignite your positive body image. It helps you embrace your uniqueness. It helps you create new beliefs that you're going to kind of hold down so strong that whatever happens around you, you're like, I'm good. And this is really the process where intuitive eating has amazing things, but there's a lot of things missing. In creating a bigger foundation is what we want to focus on, because it's a fun journey, but it's a journey of discovery. Any questions? Any comments?
I just wanted to say thank you. That last part was really big for me, and I can't wait to have the quiet time around here to actually do that work and see what happens afterwards.
Oh, my pleasure. How did it make you feel when we talked about that last exercise, the health story?
Sad. Not because of me, but my mom's journey with her health made me kind of take on her emotions for it, and I took that in. She was a bigger woman and had problems with dieting. I was a tiny little thing, but
Mm,
as I've gained weight since, being a tiny little teenager, I've kind of felt her emotions in me, even though it has nothing to do with me. So now I have to go back and do the work and do this unlayering. So it's not a big part of my issue anymore.
mhm.
Not that I'm worried that my kids are going to have it. I'm not worried at all.
But it's lovely, and I like what you're saying. It's we're unlayering. We don't have to
Yeah,
like erase. We acknowledge what happened, and we're like, okay, I have some work to unlayer these pieces,
yeah,
and there's beauty in that journey. But the emotions coming out, that means it's a path that is needed.
it is. So thank you. I really needed this.
Oh, thank you for this share. So when we look in terms of, we talk about intuitive eating. So it's a journey, it's a process. There's things you want to kind of be aware of, the hunger and the fullness, understanding what they are. So if you received what you wanted from the presentation, this is the presentation today. If you're curious to know a little bit more of how we can work together, the different approaches, I would invite you to stay in the next 5 minutes. I'll answer a little bit more questions, but I'll show you some things that are coming up in September that can actually be fun if this speaks to you. Because there's two ways to move forward from here. Of course, there's, what you have today. You already have like the regularity, the water, you can do the health story. That's amazing. Or if you're like, you know what, I'm really feeling like on a high, I want to be supported, I want to reset all that, rewire everything. There's two options I want to speak to you today. There's two ways we can move forward together. So there's actually a program that I'm going to be launching again in September. It's not the first time I've launched it. It's called Back the Basics. It's really giving you those first few steps of understanding blood sugar stability, understanding what is my eating schedule, how can I boost my energy, reset my metabolism, crush the cravings, and balance your weight. So again, we're not talking about losing weight. It's just getting to a weight where you're feeling good naturally. And this really helps anybody who wants to get unstuck with their health. It's not a diet approach, it's a reconnected approach. This is a 5-week online group program. So it is education, there is group coaching, but what I like in a group support, we kind of support each other in that process. And I saw so many people connecting together and like being each other's accountability during the process, which I truly love. This gives you a little bit what we're going to be going through. So if you loved the journey of the health story that we talked about, this is a lot of the stuff that we do in the prep work. Prep work is decluttering the external environment and decluttering the inside environment. To make space for newness, we need to release what is no longer serving us. We need to peel those layers to say, okay, where's the work that is needed? Week 1, we talk about blood sugar stability. We will look at what are the schedules, and we'll see with each person what their schedule can be. We talk about what food combinations are good. We talk about personal preferences. We dive a little bit into if there's any medical issues, but you're also going to be leaving away with examples of snacks and meals and various plans to see which one fits best to you. Because again, you're all unique. Everybody needs to eat very differently. Then, which the part I love is week 2 is the meal planning. No matter how your life is, it's not about keeping all Sunday and prepping everything. I don't prep everything in one day. And, I have the time, but I'd rather do other things on Sunday. So it's how can you find something that's realistic for you with the overwhelm of your life to create simplicity in your meal planning? And there's so many easier ways with the blood sugar stability to make things simpler. Week 3, which is actually amazing, is the healthy hunger and fullness. There's all these little tips and tricks and recalibration techniques for you to connect to you. It's not for me to tell you, oh, this is enough. This is a good portion. This is a bad portion. I don't know how much you should eat. Your body knows. So when we calibrate with your hunger and your fullness, you'll know exactly what portions are good for you because they're aligned to you. Number 4, we're going to be reconnecting to your internal eating clock. So this, you're going to actually know exactly when your body needs to eat. Some people need to eat more before noon. Some people need to eat more in the afternoon. Each person is very different. But when you reconnect your internal eating clock, you'll know exactly why you hunger at certain times, and you'll be aligning to that. And week number 5, we're starting to start that rewiring process, like demystifying the emotional, internal, external triggers to your emotional eating. So we're kind of getting into creating some clarity, because once your blood sugar is stable and your meal planning, again, doesn't mean your whole week is set, but you understand what baseline is good for you and you know your hunger and your fullness. When we cleared up that, we create a nice foundation. Then we layer up. Let's look at the rewiring. Let's look at the mindset. Let's look at what else is still holding you back. So that journey, as I mentioned, it's a private membership. You have access to all the lessons there every week. We have weekly group coachings that I'll be coaching everybody that's live. There's going to be access to a private Facebook group that we're going to be opening up for the prep work, so people can get in and already get some of the homework doing. And that's going to be available as of Monday, September 16th. And it's for 12 people only, because I want to keep it small and intimate. And whenever anybody wants to apply, they can just send me an email and give you that information. For now, it's less than $500 for that. I would say 6 weeks, because you have that prep work that comes in before. But if you're like, this is speaking to you, I'm giving a special offer for all the webinar people that attended. It's only $397 for 48 hours. So if you feel like, you know what, you want to be guided, supported, and you feel like it's kind of on the high, you want to continue, this would be an amazing first approach if you're up for it. However, some people like private coaching. That's also available with the Circle of Wellness. If you're looking more hands-on support, you want me and you to create a personalized meal plan just for you, understand exactly what's happening. There's a lot of medical conditions you want to kind of focus on, and really having more of that one-on-one support. This would be kind of the avenue for you. But also for that, I have a special little offer coming in. It is, you have your health map. It's like a 30-page document that's going to be personalized to you after the questionnaires we go through when we start. You have one-on-one sessions, you have support in between, and you have access to the group program at the same time. So you have the private coaching and as well the group support. So you're kind of doubling up on your coaching. And again, the last day to join will be Monday, September 16th, because then we start the group program. And even on that, for now, it's less than $1,500. But if you want to have the early bird price as well for 48 hours, you have it for $1,397. Because I want to give that little bonus people that show up and are interested in this webinar. I like giving a little gift at the same time. And if ever you are interested, you can always contact me via email, and then we'll connect with the Circle of Wellness. And if ever you're curious to know a little bit more about me and seeing, what I'm doing up on social media, there's a QR code here. You can follow me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and even I have my own podcast there. So don't hesitate to connect with me and say hi. And if ever you have any takeaways from this lesson, I would love for you to post about it, tag it. And if you feel like there's something that we should repeat again, I'd be more than happy with the recording or doing another live with any other. If you feel like people need to do that again, then we're more than happy to do that again. But yeah, scan the QR code and love to connect on social media. Any questions, any concerns before we go? Sarah, you're good. Thank you, Susan. So I would only ask one thing. I would love to know. You can think about it now. You can email me. What is the one key takeaway that you like from this presentation? You can do a story about it. You can do a post about it. You can tag Circle of Wellness on myself. Because the more you share with us, which ones are your key takeaways, it actually helps us create more and more amazing webinars to dive more into these topics. Because whatever you find is a key takeaway, that means we know we should maybe talk about it a little bit more. Perfect. So if there's no other questions, I want to thank you all for attending. Thank you for taking this like 1 hour for you. This is just a step for you to take time for you. And remember all the homework we talked about today. You don't have to implement them all. If there's one you're focusing on, focus on it, because slow and steady wins a race when it comes to healthy eating. It's not doing it all. It's just doing better with this one thing. So thank you all so much, and hopefully we'll connect again in the near future.